Camacho Bajuelas. As promised last time, I'm going to meet today with foreign investors who, like me, decided to choose Georgia as a second home, among others for their professional activities. The goal is to know what are for them the pluses but also the minuses of investing here in Georgia for a foreigner. I will try my best to make them speak openly and honestly, highlighting also the disadvantages they are facing on a daily basis. Being myself a Belgian citizen, I've decided firstly to have a conversation with the Honorary Consul of Belgium in Georgia, Braeckveld. Living in Tbilisi for almost 20 years now, this 41-year-old Flemish man is currently the regional manager of the transport company Goslin, the only Belgian company established here in Georgia.
First of all, Guillaume, thank you for the interview. It doesn't happen much. You get interviewed in Georgia. A Belgian gets interviewed by a Belgian, so it's quite nice. Yes, I've been here for 20 years. So I started here in the early 2000s. And if you ask me from an investment climate, yeah, okay, I'm the proof there's a good investment climate because I'm still here after 20 years. So that is actually quite clear that Georgia is a country where you can do business, when you can invest. As an investor, it is a place where you can do investments. That's the positive. Okay, there are also some hurdles on the back when you do an investors. You need to know your country. You need to know how to communicate, how to work with governments, with fellow businessmen, how you have to make contracts. That's all important things you need to learn. I would say for the moment the biggest hurdle for investment is a bit the business climate and the lack of a public-private dialogue between business and government institutions. For example, from my behalf, I'm the manager of Goslin. Goslin is an international mobility company, a moving company, transport. We feel clearly the lack on a dialogue directly with the revenue services and the Ministry of Finance, that we are pointing out that there are problems in the legislation that need to be addressed, and we feel it goes too slow paced. That could be for an investor solved. A very important factor I need to mention also, an investor, foreign direct investment, doesn't just drops here in Georgia and starts here. Mostly, half of all the foreign direct investment starts with, okay, there's a tender in Georgia, government makes a tender, we want to go for the tender, and we want to stay, to keep on investment. So we need to make the tendering process in Georgia much more open for foreign companies also, to attract them, to come here, to develop their company and to stay here also.
Jalian Didi Madloba.
Thank you very much.
The second person we're gonna meet together now is a quite famous face of foreign investors living and working here in Georgia. He's even considered as an ambassador of Georgia in his native country, France. Jacques Fleury, 74 years old, discovered Georgia 25 years ago after being at the head of Bojomi during 15 years. Then after Chateau Mourani, he's now running 4 different companies in the agro-industrial sector.
The point of view that we'll express is the point of view of 25 years of experience of this country, several companies built. One, the advantage of Georgia is that we are in the developing countries. I mean, there is still a lot of opportunities that you don't have in many Western countries. The advantage for an entrepreneur or somebody like me who creates new projects, new companies, is that we can enter in a field where nobody is present for the time being. While if you were investing the same in Europe, you would have already a consolidation of the market and huge competitor. You could not. I never failed any project here, which is itself a sign that the country is feasible. For instance, I'm involved now, in the last 2 years, I created 4 companies in the agro-industrial sector, where in Europe could you start in 4 different fields of interest? It's not possible, because market is consolidated. You have no chance. Size of the country is interesting because you can easily have a contact for any subject quickly. We are in the middle of basically a hub for a market of course, Ukraine.
The fact that it is in the middle of Asia and Europe is a plus for you?
Is a plus. It's a hub. I mean, let's talk about Soviet Union countries is a potential market, because Georgia is a well-known country. It's had a good reputation, very good image of a country where citizens of these countries were used to come during summer, and so in general they like Georgia. They like the climate. Not only they like the culture, and they like the hospitality of the people. In the last 4 or 5 years, China, because Georgia has privileged agreement with China, and for instance in the wine sector it's one of the 2 or 3 countries in the world that have a free access to the Chinese market. So when you think about Georgia, this is one of the advantages. You must not think about Georgia alone. I play a role of ambassador. I'm always supporting Georgia wherever I can, and I'm just giving back what Georgia has given me in the last 25 years, which is basically to allow me to do things that I would not have been able to do in my own country. I have a very experienced vision of culture, people, and business, and I must say that the country which, and this is why I'm still after 25 years, the country which is the most friendly and the most capable to welcome you in all the countries where I work is Georgia. In Georgia, I felt that when you do something and you succeed, you are becoming Georgian. This possibility of assimilation and integration, which makes it very interesting for a foreign entrepreneur to be here. Technical assistance for me is a very important issue. It's not taken seriously by international institutions. This is what we need here. There is enough education in university to train the people, but we lack a lot of practical, simple practical experience. Of course, there's still a lot of progress to be made. I think as much as the previous government was a reformist, a violent reformist, which sometimes you didn't agree with what they were doing. This government maybe is weak in its capacity to make reforms, because they take more in consideration existing business, and the previous government was doing whatever they wanted, and sometimes it was very good. I think they started very good. After it was a chaos, but at the beginning it was because they could do it. This government has more difficulty to reform and do the change that are necessary for the country.
After a Belgian investor and a French one, the last person I propose you to meet today comes from Netherlands. Used to ex-Soviet Union countries, Ruud van Heel, 57 years old, has been involved in many huge projects in Georgia for more than 20 years, especially in Belgium, like Jacques Fleury, but also in real estate or shopping centers.
It's a free country. I think that's important. You can do what you want, but you have to do it yourself. Don't expect government, local government to help you. When you have the right people with you, the right partners, not necessarily Georgian partners, but if you have the right partners with you, you can do a lot here. Even if you're not helped, you are also not helped against. I think that's important. Banking system is quite sophisticated here. The environment is very, very nice here. The scenery is incredible. The weather is good. If that's a reason to invest, I don't know, but it's a plus. Obviously, there are some negative things too. I would say that don't expect too much help from the government, even though they promote that they do, but it's a bit difficult. Not another thing, which the situation is with when you work with people here, they always want to involve their family in the business. So when you have a partner or somebody who is in the business close to you, they always introduce a family member who is not necessarily fit for the job, but that's always what you see. They're pushing in this way. Georgians are not people that work on the clock. So if they're an hour late, it happens. There's some good expertise. You have to say that. Don't let the Georgian build a house, but let the Georgian finish the house, because they are really artists in music, in art, in the small things. If you look at this building, also the way they finish it, they can really do this. You bring your skill. You have an idea, or you bring your skill and you bring your money. But find the right partner. Don't do it on your own. Don't bring the money and leave. Stay, or at least find somebody reliable, and maybe a person that has been here longer than a couple of years, that knows the business, that you can trust, and build it up with him. Don't do it alone. Find the right partner. It's not a new country, but it's in the middle of a development. It's not as far as Russia is. But it's much further than, and it wants to be with Europe. So they are trying to implement European standards. The banks are European standards, I would say. The registration system is very easy here. To be honest, the last 2-3 years we see a little bit of a standstill politically, and that's because of the elections, because of maybe the competence of the government itself. I think only a few people actually make decisions in the government, and that means that a lot of people don't make those decisions, and people are afraid to make decisions. I'm in another project where we are trying to build a McDonald's, drive-in McDonald's. We are waiting for a permit for more than 6 months because they say the way the traffic is going is not correct. Well, we have used the only expert available in Georgia who is always advising the government, and he said it's okay. But somewhere within the government, the local government has to make a decision, doesn't dare to make the decision. And that's the problem, because the guy above him is probably on holiday or whatever. And that's maybe typically Georgia for the moment, and the way things are now. And to be honest, it used to be better than that, that people are afraid to make decisions. And everything is based on permits. I mean, you cannot do anything without a permit here. And sometimes it comes quickly, and sometimes it takes ages.